Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to go to the Private Planning Commission to start it. Madam Secretary, would you please call roll?
Chairman Gardner,
Here.
Vice Chairman Daniel,
Here.
Fire Marshal Allen,
Here.
Mayor Gillespie, Ms. Carpenter, here, Mr. Hayden, Mr. Kostichka, Mr. Mullins,
Here.
Mr. Newman.
Here. Thank you very much. We do have a quorum. And has everybody got a chance to look at the January 15, 2026 meeting minutes? If so, do I hear a motion? So moved. Do I hear a second? Second by Mr. Carpenter. Any discussion at this time? If not, I call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Minutes was passed. At this moment, we don't have any committee reports, and we don't have any old business, and we do have new business. And the new business item number 1 is the zoning amendment, and it's a mixed B2, B4, and FAR to PUD. The location is Redfield Road. Owner is Virginia Jones, Danielle Jones, LaSalle, Mashan, Eugene Jones, and the representative is BSL Incorporated.
Hello.
Hello?
The applicant is requesting to rezone 136 acres located off Cobbs Ford Road and Redfield Road from FAR B2 and B4 to PUD. The property is currently vacant and undeveloped. So here we just have an overall view of that property and surrounding community. Here is a closer look at that property. Here's that zoning. Please note that the NA section on the property is still within the city limits and the zoning has not been determined by the city. The future land use map is zoned for mixed use. The proposed development is a mixed-use project that will include commercial, residential, and recreational components. The plan includes over 275,000 square feet of commercial space and 405 residential units. The development is designed to be walkable and integrated with shops, parks, trails, recreational areas, all within proximity. The open space exceeds minimum zoning requirements with up to 15% in commercial areas and 25% in residential areas. The proposed PUD is consistent with the Prattville 2040 Comprehension Plan, which designated the area as mixed-use commercial. The development supports the city goals and encourages walkable environments, mixed-use developments, and growth along the existing commercial properties. The surrounding area consists primarily of commercial uses along Cobbs Ford Road, including an existing retail center. The residential portion is located by Redfield Road and will be buffered with landscaping and open space to provide a transition to nearby residential areas. Do y'all have any questions for me?
Any question from the commissioners? Thank you very much. Is the representative for this item present?
Blake Rice, BSI. Thank y'all for giving me the chance to come today. I don't exactly have a presentation prepared or anything like that. The a PUD within the city of Prattville is fairly involved, and there's a good bit of information in the submitted documents. I'd be happy to talk through any specifics of the project, answer any questions from the commission or from the audience.
Do we have any questions from any of the commission at this time?
I have a question. Is this PUD going to have any kind of HOA involvement or anything like that?
Yes. You'll see in the PUD narrative that we're estimating more than likely 3 separate property owner associations, one standard HOA for the detached single-family portion of the project, and then you will have an additional separate property owner association, one for the residential portion of the mixed-use component and one for the commercial mixed use.
Is that you? All right. Well, this is a public hearing, so let me get. All right. Thank you very much, John. This is a public hearing. If there's anyone like to come up and speak, please come sign in and speak. This is a public hearing.
Do you need my address?
Yes.
Donald, what's your address? Hello.
Hello.
How are y'all today? My name's Mary King. I'm here. I didn't make it to the Miami Open. It got rained out. But anyway, I met with the mayor last week about our concerns. I'm not really representing our HOA, but we're all kind of together. We're at the bottom of Redfield Road. I don't know if you all are familiar with Eastwood. You go down Redfield Road all the way to the back, and it backs up to the golf course. There's about 57 of us, and I'm afraid that if you approve something like this without some feasibility studies about traffic and water, that it's going to adversely impact our neighborhood in a very big way.
Could you speak up a little bit so everyone can hear?
Okay, sorry. Can you hear me better?
Yes.
Okay. We just don't want this to adversely impact our neighborhood. And I'm worried that when you have over 400 other people next door to us, that you're going to forget about us. And we are sort of a Charleston-type looking neighborhood, very nice, except to the golf course. But anyway, our concerns are, my concern, and I think I'm speaking for probably our entire neighborhood, if you add 400, because what we figured today is there's 195 houses. I don't know, he didn't really specify in his initial conversation with you how many cars are going to be in this neighborhood. Okay, there's one single little road coming down Redfield. What I understand is they're proposing 3 entrances to this subdivision on Redfield. And if 400 people times 2 cars per house, I mean, how many cars can you get out right there? You know where this shopping center is, Ross, Target, and there's this funky little intersection where you have to get out on Legends. And if you've got 3 entrances to this subdivision or PUD, and you're coming out, you have 800 cars coming that way, I don't know how that's going to work. So I would really urge you guys to think about getting some kind of a traffic feasibility or requiring them to show you how it's going to work, because it's going to be a problem, not just for our neighborhood, but for Prattville, for all the people that go to that shopping center, all those people that are going to the
where the gas station and Jim and Nick's and all of that. That's a problem. The other problem I want to highlight is the water issue. Where we are now, we have a retention pond. Target, Home Depot, all of that got paved, and all that water runs down into Eastwood, okay? And so sometimes we have flooding issues there. When you take away all the vegetation that's next door to us and you put concrete and asphalt, I don't know where that water's gonna go, but it's gonna go down. And so I would urge you also to either require them or have the city look into a water runoff study. Any questions?
Go ahead, Mayor.
Not any questions, but glad that you're here, not
Yes.
somewhere else. But it's good to see you again. And I have done, since our conversation, I have talked a little bit more with some of our staffers as well. And I mentioned our one meeting is that the city of Prattville is under an MS4 stormwater program. And so the staff has looked into Eastwood, and some of the conclusions on that is that some of the pipes are undersized, and sometimes it's easy to replace pipes. Other times when houses are already built, because I think there's a couple of houses that would make this pipe replacement in Eastwood a very big,
Bless you.
very big challenge. I honestly believe that if this project happens to go forward, it will actually impact the water runoff in a very positive way for Eastwood. But if nothing else, we do have mechanisms in place where they will have to capture the water that's coming off of the property at the same rate and release it at the same rate it gets released today before any asphalt or rooftops are built. So, but hopefully we can improve that with some other, for your area, with some other city projects that coupled with this. So we will be watching that very, very closely.
The only other concern that I failed to mention is if they do, and I really don't know the terminology, houses are one thing, but apartment buildings and things like that, that brings an element into Prattville, Alabama that you don't want. And I would just urge you to think about that as well. So thank you so much.
All right, thanks again.
I appreciate you guys too. I've been on a board before, so I know how hard you guys work, and I appreciate you.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone else like to come up and speak?
How you doing? I'm Donald Thomas. I live in the neighborhood just as well.
Have you
I
placed your,
did. She signed me in for it.
okay, good.
I would like to ask the young man, how many parking stalls are in this whole neighborhood?
Right, yeah, question, yeah,
Do you know?
it's on there, I'll have to look at it.
When you speak, you need to speak into the, 1 minute, sir. When you speak, you need to speak in the mic because all this is being recorded.
Right.
So,
Well, there's 195 houses. Then you've got 90 in the yellow that's there, parking stalls. You've got another 150 more parking stalls. So I'm worried about what you're going to do with that traffic. Are you going to take the traffic out north, or are you going to take it all out out our side up the road to 3? And I do worry about all that water coming down that hill because we're having problems where we're at now. Then I'd like to know where his construction road's going to be. Like to know where he's going to put that as well. Because that's a lot of concrete, asphalt. There's a lot of contractors going to be working in there with traffic. You cannot get out at Target now. So if you start this, what are you going to? Are you going to make the interest going out by the race to Carla, the gas station? You're going to put 2 up there? Just redone it, 24 months ago, the state did. Cobb's Ford. People barely get used to that now. I just don't think they planned this yet. I just think they need to do a traffic control to see where you're going to do with all this traffic. That's a lot of traffic. And we all know it. Everybody drives it, goes over there. So I just think that's too much houses and stuff to put there. Any questions?
Have any question at this time?
I don't have a question, but just like make a comment. You are on target with about the traffic, and it will be a multi-jurisdiction project. It has to be because, as you mentioned, with AlDOT coming in and the work that they did out there in front, some folks like it, most folks don't, and so I do see that AlDOT going to come to the table. Skipper.
What will AlDOT have to say about that? Will they have anything to say about the subdivision going in?
Nothing about the subdivision now, where maybe because they have their certain right of ways,
Right.
but then the work that, in my opinion, work that they have already done that you just referenced, I think some of that is going to probably have to be changed. And I'm just guessing at that. And if I had to also guess at that will not be on their dime. I'm certain it's probably going to be on developers' dime.
Yes, because I don't know if you can put a red light at the gas station coming out, another red light to pull some of the traffic up the hill north.
Yeah.
You can't put all that traffic on our road going up. There's just no way. I don't see you can put all that traffic up that one road. Anybody else?
Are there any more questions?
You got any question?
Evan,
I can talk to you afterwards.
I'll make a really quick comment. I think Blake can address some of this. So Paxton Reese, city engineer, we will require an extensive traffic study to be performed on this. We ourselves have concerns with the traffic as it currently sits. So I'm city engineer in Prattville. Yes, sir. So we will require that. Yes.
I have talked with the state of Alabama already.
speak in the mic, please.
I have spoke to the state of Alabama already about the traffic. They said they're going to look into it just as well.
Okay.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, then.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone else like to come up and speak? This is a public hearing.
Good afternoon. Guy Booton, resident there at Eastwood. That's our neighborhood to the left there, those lots. And I just like to ask, do you know how many apartments are going to be there? Don't know? Does he know? You know how many apartments are going to be there? You know how many apartments will be there?
Yes. And I apologize. I was intending to answer all questions at the end of the public hearing. I believe there's 205 rental units in the yellow right there.
So let me just ask y'all, do you think the city needs more apartments? Don't know? I mean, feel like we need more apartments and rezone it. I just don't see why we have to rezone it. Why can't they build it what the zone is? Is there a reason we can't comply with the current zoning?
Yes.
What would that be?
I mean, do y'all want me to take the public hearing now?
I'd be glad to answer. I mean, because right now I think it's FAR. Is that right?
Right.
Okay, which is Farm, Agriculture, and Recreation.
Mhm.
So it is highly limited. And most big tracts of dirt that come into the property, they usually get that zoning unless they're in the middle of a developed area. But this is FAR to answer your one question.
So it's currently zoned. He wants it rezoned.
Correct.
So our issue is just leave it like it is and let them work around the zone. I mean, the zone was put there for a reason. People before us. So let them go back to the drawing board and figure out what they want to do with the current zone. That's going to be all Elmore County, right?
Yes.
So they're going to get the taxes off that, correct? The property tax.
The city of Prattville will, Elmore County, and the state of Alabama.
So Elmore County, they don't have really a dog in the fight other than whatever they build there, they're going to get the revenue out of it.
That would be their dog in the fight, yes, sir.
Yeah, well, we can't even get them to cut the grass. Elmore County don't even cut the grass from revenue. You sent your people down there, and since they took it, it was a good job. So maintaining those roads and all, I guess y'all have to work that out with Elmore County.
Well, actually, this area is inside the corporate limits, and so it's all that kind of maintenance now is up to the municipalities.
Okay.
So Elmore County, they will get tax benefits, but they will not provide any services that I can think of right now.
Well, I'm sure they're like that. Anyway, I'll give it back to you. Anybody else from our side? Or do you want to address those questions? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Gardner. I just want to say if there's anybody else here that wants to speak about this as an elected official, I'm begging you to come up and speak about it because I need to know feedback, please. So if you're sitting here wondering if you should get up and say something, please come up and tell us what you think.
And Mr. Chair, if I might have a point of privilege, I would like to go ahead and mention this with everybody here, and I mentioned it during our meeting last time, is that the Planning Commission here, what we're listening to today, we will vote one way or another. To some aspect of it, we do have to vote one way or another, or else after 30 days, it automatically becomes approved. But that is a recommendation that goes to the city council. Then the council has the final decision on this rezoning. So, PSA.
All right. Is it anyone else like to come up and speak?
God. Say, actually,
Wait till you get here, sir.
let's say you do a traffic count. Say you got too much up there, you can't have it. Will you take the apartments out and leave the houses and the other, or something different? You've got to change this. You can't have the apartments in the houses and all the other. There's too much traffic. You've got to cut something out. So if you voted in, so that's it, then it goes to the council. The council approve it. So this can't be changed?
I'm going to say yes, it can. Now, this is what they call a PUD. With a PUD, now it is a lot more restrictive whenever it gets brought in.
Right.
But it can be changed.
Yeah, I mean, I could probably live with the houses, the apartments too. Then you add more traffic. They've got to give us some just as well as we gonna get. I mean, and y'all got to agree. I mean, you don't live there, so any of y'all go to Target?
Yes, but the thing is, let's see what the discussion is.
Yeah, but I don't want you to pass it. Then you turn around and go to you, and y'all pass it again. And just
1 minute, sir.
Okay.
We need to know what the discussion is before we make a decision.
Okay.
And just assuming is a matter of a mistake.
I agree.
So once we get into the discussion, get into the final discussion, we'll know exactly what to do or not do.
Right.
But to assume that we know what we're doing, in fact, that's a mistake.
That's right.
And our planning commissioners are not going to make that mistake at this moment. If you understand what I'm saying.
No, I don't really. So
well, let me explain to you what I'm saying. What I'm saying to you is that once we hear
right
exactly what's going to be presented, then we'll know what to do or not do. But just to look at what we have here and just assume this is what it is, because he may make some changes, radical changes now. But based on what we've been discussed already,
right,
during the public hearing, and that may change the minds of many. I don't know. So let's just hear what's going to be discussed.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, too.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else like to come up and speak? Is there anyone else like to come up and speak at this public hearing? Hearing none, I close the public hearing. Okay. Ms. Carpenter, would you read in the resolution, please? Oh, we don't. You don't have a resolution?
I'm very sorry. That was an oversight, and our chairman can sign the resolution after the motion's made to approve the requested item if the planning commission is comfortable with that. The resolutions were not in the packets, were not included in the packets.
Okay. Since we don't have a resolution to be read in,
Okay, no.
all right? What we'll do is we'll get those resolutions printed so to be read in, but what is it that you would like to tell us
Yes, sir.
based on the information that we've received out? So
Thank you. I would like to respond to the concerns that I heard from the nearby residents.
oh, this is not a public hearing because he's the owner of the property and he has to come back up and speak to us regardless. May I have explained to you? See, when there's a public hearing, he can kind of explain a little bit in detail of the information, but he also get a second chance to come up and speak to the commissioner to explain to us exactly what he's going to do and what's going on. Now, it's closed to the public, but it's not to him because he's the owner of the property. Here's the owner of the property, and he must speak to us now in detail. All right, sir? Good.
All right. I heard a significant number of concerns. Some of them are easily rectified, some of them not so easily.
Speak in your mic so everyone can hear you.
Is it not coming through?
It's coming through, but not loud enough. I want to make sure the ones in the rear could hear as well.
How about now?
Okay.
All right. As far as the drainage goes, the drainage is one of the concerns I heard that's probably the most easily rectified. In the southwest corner of this project, there's a significant drain from this project that drains in that direction straight towards Eastwood subdivision. It's 35 to 40 acres of this property currently funnels to that point. While the mayor is correct that we would not be allowed to place any additional water towards Eastwood than is currently going, that's really not our intention at all. If you'll notice on the east side of the property, you'll see 2 detention facilities. So when this property gets regraded, the entire drainage pattern would change significantly. And that 30, 35, 40 acres that's draining in that direction right now would probably go to 3 or 4 acres, something like that, because all of that water has to be rerouted to the east into those detention facilities. So we're effectively going to cut off 70 or 80% of the water that's going there now. So the drainage problems that Eastwood has right now would essentially become better due to this project. It's a fairly easily rectified problem. The second is a gentleman asked about the current zoning. So the current zoning of this property is FAR, and a portion of it's B2, a portion of it's B4, and a portion of it is unzoned. That's a bit of an anomaly that happens in zoning sometimes. It was never zoned. Doesn't mean It's not in the city limits. It doesn't mean that you can do whatever you want. It's unzoned. But the reason the property is still zoned FAR is because that's what it was zoned originally when the first zoning ordinance for the city of Prattville came out, and nobody has rezoned it in accordance with current development standards or in accordance with the current comprehensive plan. You will see that the comprehensive plan shows this as mixed use, and that's what this is. It's a mixed use project. It's some commercial, some detached single-family residential, and some, for lack of a better explanation, it's multifamily. And I'll get into that in a moment. So the answer to that question is the reason it can't follow the current zoning is the property is not zoned properly if you look at the comprehensive plan and the development of the surrounding areas. So the other main question that I believe is on everybody's mind is traffic. And so what we have in the city of Prattville is a PUD process that is a two-step project or two-step process. The first step is the preliminary master plan. That preliminary master plan comes to Planning Commission and Planning Commission makes a recommendation to council. Council then, chooses to approve or deny that preliminary plan. If it is approved, it has to come back to Planning Commission for the final plan, prior even to true construction drawings being done. And so what we are asking is for approval of the preliminary master plan so that we can understand what is theoretically going to be allowed on the property, what the city is looking for as a mixed-use project on this property, and so that we have some type of understanding before we start going into the very, very detailed studies that this project's going to require, most notably the traffic. To be able to build a project like this, especially with the traffic concerns that already exist in the area, and I'm not denying that they do, because they do. Anybody that has left Eastwood subdivision at certain times of the day and tried to get off of Redfield Road onto Legends Parkway has probably had significant problems doing so, especially if they're trying to go left on Cobbs or west on Cobbs Ford, because now the access road accesses are right in, right out only. So they don't have that option. And people move down Legends on a pretty good clip. So anybody coming to the end of Redfield and trying to turn left onto Legends, I imagine it's very, very difficult. I've done it myself, and I've sat for a significant amount of time trying to make that motion. And if anybody was behind me, it stacks up pretty quickly. So what we are hoping for is an initial preliminary PUD approval so that we can move forward with the monstrous traffic study that's going to be necessary if this project can move forward. And the way that would work is we use a traffic consultant, Skipper Consulting out of Birmingham. They are, one of the premier traffic consultants in the state of Alabama. They're used by the DOT. They're used by multiple municipalities, or a lot of municipalities across the state of Alabama. And we already have them involved. If this moves forward, we have them prepared to start taking traffic counts in about 3 weeks. This is a pretty long, drawn-out process. So what we would do is, if we get approval, we would start the traffic study. Traffic counts would have to be taken for a significant amount of time, and then a lot of comprehensive analysis has to be done. Now, we have already been in contact with them, and they've been working with us through the process and looking at different options. One of the options that we feel is kind of the most promising right now, I've actually prepared it and provided it to the city. Jonathan, is there a way we could move to the lane exhibit?
Yes.
So this is an exhibit that we feel is probably the most promising right now, but would have to be vetted by the traffic study extensively. So what you're seeing is one option where it would automatically create.
Look at you guys,
Absolutely.
that's what it's in that.
it would automatically create a better situation for anyone trying to get off of Redfield. So what you see is the lanes and the oddly shaped intersection would be modified extensively to allow for 2 receiving lanes for people turning left off of Cobb's Ford onto Legends Parkway. And because the predominant flow of traffic in this area is for people to turn off of Cobb's Ford onto Legends and continue on west onto Legends, we've added 2 free-flowing slip lanes on the northwest corner of this proposed intersection. So anybody making that movement off of Cobb's Ford, if they're turning right onto Legends and continuing on in front of Target, they would continue to free flow. But the rest of the traffic would come to a stop-controlled intersection that, by our current thought process, would allow Legends to actually be stop sign controlled. And anybody coming up Redfield would now come to a controlled intersection, and it would work like any other controlled intersection. Our initial thoughts on this were for a roundabout. This seems like a really good place to place a roundabout, which was my first inclination. So what we did is attempted to kind of fit a roundabout in there to begin with. The problem is a roundabout of the diameter that would be necessary to handle the odd geometry of this area and the truck traffic that will come through that services the commercial already. A roundabout will not fit in that location. So what we've done is looked at what I believe is probably something close to what it would look like at the end, but I can't be sure until we move forward with an approval and then we do the traffic study. So what I'm saying is this initial approval gives us some type of confidence that the project can be done, and it allows us to move forward with all the comprehensive analysis and studies that would be necessary to finalize it. The city staff would require of us to provide that traffic study, and if we cannot show that it works in this area, we're going to have to go back to the drawing board. To answer the gentleman's question about could this be changed? Yes. So if we get into this and the traffic study shows that we've got an issue that we can't solve with lanes and, stop controlled intersections and things like that, we've either got to go back to the drawing board and figure out a better way to fix it, or we've got to modify the project. But this initial approval gives us the ability to do that. So that you can see right now that we are trying to solve a problem. We just don't have enough information yet to solve that, and we can't get that information until we move forward in the process.
Right. Any question from the commissioner?
Yeah, well, I say
No, sir. Not at this time.
you were going to touch on the multifamily section.
Sure.
Can you clarify that?
Sure. Jonathan, if we could scroll back to the master plan. All right. In the area in yellow, that is the residential portion of the mixed use part of this project. It is deemed multifamily for a variety of reasons, not necessarily the buildings themselves. Everything in that yellow would be private infrastructure, be private roads and private utilities. What the project itself is it's a concept that has become real popular over the last decade. For lack of a better explanation, it's generally termed build to rent. And it's a whole bunch of different types of product. And some 2-story, some 1-story, some detached, single family, some attached, all the way to the last page, please. So this is the type of product that would be in what is termed the multifamily area. These are not traditional 3-story garden-style apartments. There are all types of different units in there. They're built on a cottage-style plan. You get some that are standalone single-family homes, but then you get some like the picture in the bottom right. Those units that's actually 2 units, one stacked above the other. You've got some other units that are carriage house units where there's a garage with a unit on top of it. It is it's traditionally geared towards young professionals, retirees, things like that. It is not a traditional multifamily, geared project. You don't have a whole lot of children in there. There's not families typically in this thing. It's a lot of young singles, maybe young newly married couples. We get a lot of retirees in these types of projects. So that's what the multifamily is. It is deemed multifamily because what it is not is detached single family. To be detached single family, you have to have a single unit on a single owned lot by the homeowner that fronts on a public right-of-way. A lot of these will be built as single-family homes, but they'll be rental. And the infrastructure that surrounds them, the roads, the parking, the utilities, that will all be private and not turned over to the city. So that's really just an understanding of what the multifamily portion is. What I would like to make sure that the audience understands is that what we cannot do, any modification to this PUD, if this commission and ultimately the city council was to see fit to approve it, what we can't do is just because it's a PUD and just because that's multifamily, that's the reason all this is part of the submittal. I can't come back and go, oh, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to do traditional garden-style apartments. I don't have that option. I am tied to this layout. I am tied to this style of project. And any modification to that would have to come back before this commission and ultimately the city council. So if we were to get down the road and find a problem, be it traffic or maybe I'm wrong about the stormwater, I don't think I am, or anything like that, I would have to modify this project in order to meet the requirements of the city or the traffic study or anything like that, and I would have to come back before this commission to modify it.
More questions from the commissioners? Ms. Copeland.
So water is a big issue, and everybody knows that. When, in what phase, when would this take the water portion take place? When,
Jonathan, if you can,
when is that right off the bat?
there's one in there that's that. Or Bria. Not that big a deal. I can look at this and show. So, where's the little pointer? It's not here. Anyway, if you look at about halfway north on the project, right there, right under that pointer right there, you see something running east and west that says 50-foot public right-of-way. If you were to move east along that and just kind of draw a half moon from there, kind of through that amenity open space, no, the one south of there. Yeah, through that amenity open space and then coming back southwest to the property line, that's the area that all drains to Eastwood currently. So the first portion of this project would be, phase one would be part of the commercial. And the commercial currently does not drain to Eastwood. It currently drains through a drainage channel that goes essentially kind of follows the boundary between the commercial and the residential and ultimately goes up under the interstate and outfalls on the east side of the interstate. So as you develop phase one with the commercial, that water is not currently going to Eastwood. And would not go to Eastwood. It would continue to go in that drainage pattern, and we would detain it on the east side of the commercial. It will not be until you get into phase one of the residential that you start seeing some benefit to Eastwood. And that's part of the reason that the residential is phased like it is, with that portion being phase one. What we don't want to do is the portion that's closest to Eastwood, that is shown as phase 3, if we were to try to develop that portion first, it would be somewhat difficult to control that water because all the infrastructure to take it far to the east side would not be in place yet. So that's the reason these phases kind of work like they do.
That's what I'm asking, is when should they notice an improvement? Or
as soon as phase one of the residential is done.
And the other question that I know they asked on the construction entrance, what kind of...
I actually, I don't have a ready answer for that, simply because, truthfully, I had not considered it. It is a very, very good question. I would say that the construction access for this initially would have to take initial drop-off through the Redfield location. But if this project moves forward, I can't see a route where essentially the very first thing that would have to happen is the traffic, whatever modification to the Redfield Legends intersection is deemed appropriate and becomes approved ultimately, that would essentially have to be the first thing done. What you can't do is say, well, I'm going to kick that down the road a few phases, because it's not going to work out for anybody. It's not going to work out for the current residents. It's not going to work out for phase one of the commercial. That work would essentially have to be done as the very first thing that you do to this project. It's a function of a pre-existing condition that we're going to have to rectify.
My last thing about traffic, because I understand the commercial traffic on the commercial portion of it, based on that new traffic study thing, some of the commercial will go out Legends, correct, onto Redfield.
Yes, ma'am. And that's why we're making every connection we can possibly make.
So it's not all going out with.
No, ma'am. We're trying to distribute this traffic as much as possible. Because, I mean, I will be the first one to say there is a pre-existing condition, and I understand the residents' concerns, and we want to be part of the solution, not the problem. So we're attempting to distribute this traffic everywhere we can.
All right. Are there any more questions? Mayor?
Yes, and I guess some of it might be digging a little too deep right now. I noticed around that the yellow section, I had to blow it up some. You had some amenities there. So y'all do build all this out. There are certain green spaces and park-like
Yes, sir.
amenities that have to be a part of this as well.
I'd be happy to walk through some of that. So everything you see in green right now is either open space or true amenity space. What we've tried to do is pay attention, number one, to the transition between the commercial, the multifamily, and the detached single family. We're using the multifamily in yellow as kind of a transitional zone between the detached single family and the commercial and the interstate. So you've got true open spaces. You've got the first open space behind the phase one of the commercial. That is strictly a big green area, buffered from the residential. What you don't want to do is slam that residential right up on that commercial. It doesn't work out for anybody. The residential people will be complaining about whatever the commercial's doing, and the commercial people will be complaining because the residential are complaining. So you've got that 3-acre open space right there. You've got another one that that's kind of in that little triangle between phase 2 of the commercial area and the yellow multifamily, a little under an acre. That area that someone's pointing at right now is the amenity area for the multifamily only. That amenity would typically be a clubhouse and open pavilion and a pool. Typically don't do playgrounds or splash pads or anything like that in these types of projects because, again, it's not geared towards families. So you do a pool that's more of a pool geared towards tranquility or something like that, whatever that word is I'm looking for, not towards active recreation for little kids. You do pickleball courts, things like that in that amenity space. The amenity space just southwest of that, is a 2-acre amenity space that would be geared to, or would be owned by the single family HOA. And that's where you would have something that looked kind of similar, but you would see the differences. That pool is would probably be geared, it'd be, have some shallow area for children. You'd have a playground in that amenity space, still open pavilions and places for pickleball, maybe. You get a lot of open play area, things like that. A 2-acre site's a pretty good sized site to be able to service 200 lots. And then on the far east, what you get is really more of a buffer than it is anything. These residents are, while that area is in some places, I believe 50 or 60 feet above I-65, you're still gonna get traffic noise and things like that. And so what we've decided to do is there's an existing overhead power transmission main that runs through the property, and that's that north-south line that you see that says OHP. We've just decided that while there is significant area over there, we would rather use it as buffer and buffer the interstate from the residents. And, that's an area, if it works out, you might can put some walking trails or something like that in, but in the southwest corner, we're going to utilize it for detention. And that'll go a long way into helping the stormwater problem that, we're talking about. We're essentially moving that water from one drainage basin to the other and then necking it down and restricting the flow out of that pond. But essentially both of those flow under the interstate.
Well, the reason why I was bringing about the amenities there is that, because in my mind's eye, that with more of that in your area here, will have less impact on their area, because I know they're used to their quality of life.
Sure.
And so that's the reason for bringing that up. Mr. Paxton, if I might have a point of privilege, can I have a couple of questions with our city engineer?
Okay.
About some of Mr. Blake's comments about the traffic study and how they'll be tied to it. And then I know we're going through a traffic calming procedure changes, policy changes recently. If this does go forward, if there does seem to be some complaints about speeders or whatever, the developers can be required to put in speed tables, or how in your opinion over the years with PUDs and other developments, how much authority does the city have to say, okay, you go get the traffic study and it comes back and you got to do A, B, and C.
Right.
We can actually hold his feet to the fire with that through our policies already.
We can, and the way we look at residential subdivisions now is also trying to incorporate some form of traffic calming on the front end. And in this case, that would also include Redfield, because they're tying to that. While Redfield's already an existing road, we would also require them to look at that as well, if that makes sense.
Now, I mentioned earlier about ALDOT. We can talk as much as we want to them, and they're still going to do whatever they want.
Correct. We have no control over Cobbs Ford Road and its location from I-65 really all the way to where 82 turns off. I mean, that's completely controlled by ALDOT. I would assume at some point in time, whether there's permitting through ALDOT, that part is to be determined, but I'm sure that ALDOT's going to want to review the traffic study as well for this development, simply because it probably going to impact their traffic on their state route as well.
Is it safe to say that this project will not move forward until a traffic study is completed and, I guess,
correct?
plan?
And this term, like I said earlier, I would probably even use the term extensive traffic study. I mean, this is not your common traffic study. I think Blake alluded to the fact that we do have current issues in this intersection. I spent some time out there, and yes, we've got issues. And so there's going to be a great level of input that's got to be put into this. We also use Skipper. The city does for a lot of our traffic consulting, so we'll work with them as well. And I think they kind of know what we're expecting to see on this too. But to answer your question, yes, we will require a very extensive traffic study. I would make sure that AlDOT is looped in on that, and it's something that we'll have to go through with Skipper. And then potentially even bring in a separate traffic engineer to review what they do. Normally we send a traffic study provided by a developer to Skipper to review, just because, like I said, they're our traffic consultant, with Skipper being or I don't want to speak out of terms, but more than likely Skipper being the selected traffic consultant for the development here. We would likely look at a separate third-party traffic consultant to review what they've done as well. With that said, I would fully trust whatever Skipper provides, because to Blake's point, I don't know that there's a municipality, especially the size of Prattville, that Skipper probably is not involved in when it comes to traffic. They are the traffic guru of the state of Alabama, so I would trust whatever they present. But we would back check just to make sure.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Is there anyone else?
And go ahead.
Go ahead, man.
Well, I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say I've got to run in about 2 minutes, so if anyone else has any questions, I'm about to.
What?
The public hearing, sir, is closed. It had you ask the question before the public hearing, then that would be different.
Will you talk with him right out?
He'll talk to you after the meeting.
I'll be glad to step out and speak with him before I leave, but any other questions for me?
Anyone else have any more questions? Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Mayor, do you have any more comments?
Well, I would, if I could have an extra point of privilege, I'd like to see if there's any additional questions from our citizens here. If you would allow that.
Okay.
And come on up, and if you don't mind, Ms. Carpenter, thank you for bringing up about the water control. That is very, very important, and I think the traffic is the most important component of this stuff.
Wait. Mr. Mayor, let me explain something to you.
Are you good?
No, I'm not. Let me explain something to you so the rest of them can hear. See, when we're in a public hearing, then you can speak and you can ask questions, get answers. But after the public hearing is closed, then it goes to the homeowner, the property owners. However, in this case, one of the commissioners, which is the mayor, want to ask you a question.
Okay.
That's different. So now you can speak, because we're no longer in public hearing, and that's why.
Okay.
Let me finish, please. That's why I was letting you know that you just can't come up and speak just to speak. Now, since the mayor want to ask you a question, that's different. So go with your question, Mayor.
What additional questions did you have?
All right. Since they put the new steakhouse in, already built in.
Yes, sir.
You come out on 80. I think that's 80. 82, man. Is it 82?
Yes, sir.
All right. Since it built that one place, that traffic backs all the way to Home Depot now.
And if I can, we are working on a project already. We have a engineering company. I think it's an A-Trip 2 that we're getting some state funding from, and we're actually improving. I call it the Riverbank and Trust and Academy intersection. We're improving that, and then also the other intersection by our other steakhouse as well. So that is in the works. So just when that comes around, you'll hear me saying, got good news and I got bad news. Good news is prove it. Bad news is gonna kick up some dust.
I'm just worried about when you build this. He showed the traffic, how he's going to do the traffic. He's making a stop sign now for all the traffic that's coming out of Target to stop. Most of that traffic has got to stop. That ain't gonna work neither. It's
If I can sort of answer your question there, because I do apologize, I have to go. Otherwise, I'm going to have to spend the night at your house because my wife's not going to let me stay at my house. Skipper's traffic study or whoever's traffic study, any good traffic consultant, they're going to take into account everything. They're not just going to take into account just this. They're going to look at the entire area. They're going to figure out what kind of traffic is coming from the west, what traffic is coming from the east, north, south, every different direction. They're going to look at that. Yes, sir. It will not be solely based on this one development. Yep.
Appreciate it. Thank y'all.
All right. Any more questions? Hearing none, we call for the vote. Well, we haven't read the resolution in, though. We don't have a copy of the resolution.
Sir. Yes, sir. And we will have the resolution. I'm sorry. Tanya is working on it.
Mr. Chair, I will move to approve the zoning as is and will be done in resolution signed at a later date with a verbal motion.
All right. Do I hear a second?
But
All right. Any further comment?
I just want to go on record as stating that mixed-use developments are something I've been pushing hard for. I think there is a place for them. I think they offer the opportunity for people to live and sort of shop and visit doctor's offices and things like that without having to drive all over town to get to those places. But I would also like to say this is a very specific area that this level of density I don't think I'm on board with, because I do know I eat at Beef O'Brady's a lot. You guys kept calling out all the spots and you didn't hit Beef O'Brady's. That's where I end up going over there too. But that traffic is really bad over there. That intersection right there, even just trying to turn into Jim and Nick's or getting out of Jim and Nick's or around that, it's just really bad. I don't see with this level going into that space of density that you're trying to put in there that we can pull off. You had me until I looked at your traffic schematic, and that scared me away more. So I'm just saying I think this level of density in that area is probably too much, too saturated for the infrastructure in there. So no, I that's just my comment.
Thank you very much. Now, any further comment? Hearing none, I call for the vote. All in favor of this resolution, let it be known by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion is 5-2. Motion passed. And the resolution to be read in, probably here at the city council meeting, probably, before the city council. But we get the resolution read in.
Mr. Chairman, we'll have the resolution can be read in at this meeting. Tanya Gibbons, our planning technician, is getting those printed out and in order right now.
All right. Thank you very much, Tim.
Yes, sir.
I need to fit it.
Yeah. All right. Item number 2 is a subdivision master plan. John East, PUD, PUD, location is Redfield Road. That's District 5. The owner is Virginia Jones. Please.
So again, here's that proposed property in that surrounding community. Here is a closer look. And here is that zoning. And the future land use is mixed use, commercial. And here is that master plan. There's a mix of commercial, residential, and green space use. This development proposes 405 residential units, including 195 single-family homes, 210 attached units such as townhomes, cottages, and carriage houses. A lot of the information that we already went over in the rezoning, but I can answer any of your questions. And here is a visual that we've seen some of what's being proposed for those residential units. Do you have any questions for me?
Y'all have any questions? Not at this moment.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Does any of the commissioner has any questions? As of now, we still don't have the resolution to be read in.
Chair, I move that we go ahead and approve the preliminary master plan.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? Here now, I call for the question. All approved for the master plan, let it be known by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Right, motion carries. All right. Item number 3 is the preliminary plat, Riverfell, Phase 1, location Highway 82 bypass east. All is Hillier LLC, Bradley Nerd. Camerhorn, Rasson Creek. This is a public hearing.
Okay.
So here we have that preliminary plat. So here we have a look at that property in the surrounding community. Here is the zoning map, and this property is currently zoned PUD PUD. For the future land use map, it is on medium density residential and green space. So here we have that visual of that preliminary plat. The overall development consists of 209 acres, with Phase 1 including 91.43 acres and 136 residential lots. The full build-out of the subdivision is proposed to include 416 total residential lots across the future phases. This proposed subdivision fronts along US Highway 82 East and includes plan of connecting to the north to Constitutional Avenue and east to Cooter's Pond. Phase 1 proposes access from US Highway 82 East and Old Quarters Road, including private right-of-ways internal of the developments. The preliminary plat includes a connected street network with alleys 1 through 4 serving portions of the development. The subdivision provides a mix of residential product types, including townhomes, standard lots, perimeter lots, and estate lots. The plat identifies both residential and commercial open space scenarios, including 4.5 acres of residential open space and 22.58 acres of commercial open space. A traffic study has been conducted by the applicant and will have to be reviewed by the city engineer. As well, I also want to note that amendments have been made to the master plan that y'all have, but it can be approved through admin from the city planner. So if you do have questions regarding those amendments, the city planner can answer those questions. So this zoning and master plan did go in front of the city council and planning commission in 2022 and 2023. The city council did place conditions on the multifamily portions of the development, limiting building height and unit count. The current plan proposes reducing the multifamily units from 550 to 350 units, while allowing increase in building height. This approach supports the compact building footprint and reducing the overall density. They also did request to include removing height restrictions on the senior living area. Do you have any questions for me?
Do we have any questions at this time? Thank you very much. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone else like to come up and speak? This is a public hearing. Hearing none, we close the public hearing. All right.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move that we pass the preliminary plat of Riverfell Phase 1.
All right. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any further discussion at this time? Hearing none, I call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Thank you very much.
The resolutions are on their way. They're being printed as we speak. I've been getting texts. I apologize for that greatly.
All right.
Definitely apologize for your time.
Yeah. Yes, please.
There's one little public service announcement I need to make. Let's see.
All right.
The members of the board want to briefly inform you of an administrative policy change related to the information included in certain agenda packets which have been posted online. Across the country, municipalities are experiencing a substantial increase in scams where publicly posted personal and financial information is being misused to defraud individuals. In response and out of an abundance of caution, the city is adjusting how certain sensitive information is distributed in agenda materials. Change is being implemented uniformly across all city boards and committees. The goal is to protect applicants, property owners, and the city while continuing to provide you with the information necessary to perform your duties. If, as a board member, you need additional information beyond what is included in the public packet, that information will still be available upon request. Please contact the city clerk or the city attorney for access or clarification. We do appreciate your understanding and continual service to the city. Here locally, we have experienced some of that on some other boards, but not with this planning. Well, I think it was with the planning commission here. So, and again, while we're waiting,
I want to point out that we did not have a public hearing for the preliminary plat.
Yeah, we had one.
Yeah.
Nobody came? Okay.
And while he's handing those out, I'd like to, for us and the city council to go back and revisit our zoning for R2, R3, and R4. Some of those, I think, need to be adjusted way some houses and properties are being built, and also according because of some vehicles as well. I've talked about them here before. Right now in our R4 zoning for certain townhouses, if it's 5 or less, the BZA can approve that multifamily. And I would like to see all that, or all multifamilies be approved through the council process and not through any other boards. So, so I'll be asking our city planner to pull together everything that's needed for us to review those 3 zoning. I have talked with some, but not all of our counselors, and I think they're highly interested in having the zoning be looked at.
Now we're gonna call for a special meeting to discuss that.
I'll leave that up to our city planner and you as chair as well on what the proper process is on that.
Mr. Chairman, and sad we didn't have a vote. Okay. No, but
All right. Yes, would you read number one? Would you read that resolution number one?
Resolution, zoning amendment from B2, B4, and FAR to PUD, Blake Rice, BSI petitioner, March 19, 2026. Whereas Blake Rice, BSI Incorporated, has submitted a request to rezone the property as described in Attachment A and shown in Attachment B, and as whereas the subject property is located inside the city limits at Cobbs Ford Road, Redfield Road, and Highway 82 East, and whereas the petitioner wishes to rezone the approximately 136 plus or minus acres property from B to general business, FAR, and B4 to PUD. Whereas a public hearing on the proposed zoning amendment was held by Prattville Planning Commission on March 19, 2026. Now therefore be resolved that the City of Prattville Planning Commission hereby recommends the rezoning of said property from B2, B4, and FAR to PUD. So moved.
All right. Do I hear a second?
second. All right.
All in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Thank you. Item number 2 is a resolution. It is a master plan for PUD, John Estate. Ms. Carpenter, would you read that one in?
Sure.
Whereas Blake Rice, BSI Inc., presented a master plan of Jones Estate, PUD, for consideration by the Planning Commission, and whereas the proposed development is located inside the city limits, off Cobbs Ford Road, Redfield Road, and Highway 82 East. Whereas a public hearing for the proposed plan was held on March 19, 2026, and whereas the city department heads have reviewed and commented on the proposed plan. Now therefore be it resolved that the City of Prattville Planning Commission hereby makes the following findings: that the proposal substantially conforms to or meets 1. The comprehensive plan, 2. The intent, objectives, flexibility, and general requirements of the Planned Unit Development District, 3. The proposal is conceptually sound and that it meets a community need and conforms to accepted design principles in the proposed street system, land use configuration, open space system, and drainage and utility system. 4. There are adequate services and utilities available in the construction of the development. Now, therefore, be it further resolved that the City of Prattville Planning Commission hereby approves the Jones Estate PUD Master Plan. So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor of the Master Plan PUD Jones Estate, let it be known by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign. Motion carried. And last item is the preliminary plat, Riverfield Phase 1. Let's see. Mr. Newman, would you read that one in?
Whereas Kimberly Horn has presented a preliminary plat of Riverfield Phase 1 for consideration by the Planning Commission, and whereas the proposed development is located inside the city limits at Highway 82 East across from Old Quarters Road, and whereas the master plan for the proposed development was approved on May 1st, 2022, And whereas a preliminary master plan on the proposed development was approved on July 21st, 2022, now therefore be it resolved by the City of Prattville Planning Commission hereby approves the preliminary plat of Riverville Phase 1.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. All opposed, like sign, motion carries. Is there any further discussion at this time? Hearing none, we close the planning commission. And thanks everybody for coming out and participating.